Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here. Uh, I am not good at public speaking, so please be forgive me if I am faltering somewhere.
Okay.
So I haven't really had time to structure this presentation, so it will be a little random. But I really wanted to speak to aspirants about how I have improved my GS and main score. The scores weren't out, but I'm sure I had done well in my mains, especially. Uh, First, I'll just give a brief overview of my journey so far, so that you understand what I had learned from my mistakes previously, and this might be more useful for aspirants who are failing consecutively and unsure and a little frustrated that despite all their efforts, it's not showing in the results. It's useful for first timers as well, but I'm partial towards those who are unable to make it because I was in your position. Whenever I saw my marks in GS after so much of effort, that they were giving very, very poor returns. So, but this time something had really worked for me, and I would like to speak about that. So, after my graduation in 2011 from BITS Pilani, I I came to Delhi for my preparation, and I had given my first attempt in 2012 in the previous pattern with public administration and geography. I couldn't. I cleared prelims, but mains was very bad. Public administration fared very badly. If somebody had given that attempt, would know. Both optionals were very bad, and I couldn't clear my mains in 2012. And in 2013, the pattern got changed. Uh, for the first attempt, I had taken coaching for GS in Vajiram, PABAD at Vajiram, and geography at Neetu Singh's direction IAS. And after the pattern got changed, I realized somehow coaching wasn't helping me as much in writing good answers. So after the addition of new syllabus, I had prepared most of the GS on my own, and I dropped PABAD and I dropped geography and gave with public administration. And that year I had secured 790 rank, thanks to my interview score mostly. And later, while in IRS training, I had given two more attempts, 2014 and 2015. 2015 was probably the attempt that I worked most, that I had taken like 1 month leave from training and then I had really slogged it with public administration. But I couldn't make it in that, and my marks were the worst in that attempt. So the marks were so bad that I felt really really scared to give another attempt, and I ultimately dropped giving the exam again. None of my GS scores were above 85. I had like hardly, say, I don't remember, but paper one was 80, paper two was 68 or something, paper three probably around 70s, and paper four was 77. That was when I hit a dead end. That I thought, this is the end of my UPSC journey for me. And public administration also was very bad. I had never scored above 200 in PABAD. All my scores were like 80 and 90 or something of that sort. That's when I had dropped my next attempt, and I began working. I continued with being in IRS, but then somehow after working 1 year, I realized I had fuel for one more attempt. Just give it one more shot. And for this attempt, I had so since I had a little time, I had dropped public administration, and I went with a gut feeling that anthro I might do well. So I had taken anthro, took guidance from my batchmates who had cleared with anthro, IRS batchmates, and with that, I gave this fifth attempt, and I got the rank today. So this was a brief overview that I have today of my story so far. This has been the fifth attempt, and after 7 years. Regarding so I only want to speak means I'm sure most of you want to hear about how I had improved from the previous attempts. As I had said, I had been a frustrated man for as long as I can remember because the marks were very very low despite my efforts. But this time, a couple of things that I had did. One is definitely dropping public administration for anthropology. I think anthropology really clicked for me. PABAD was not working out for me. Despite reading many books, making notes, short notes, current affairs, committees, I did everything that I could, but the marks weren't up to the mark. And so this time anthropology, I think I did well. That was one factor that worked for me this time. And second most crucial was answer writing. Many students, even I took 4 years to realize this. I took 4 years to realize this, but answer writing is almost 70% of the game in mains. You might see me talking about all philosophical issues in interviews, but this is what I really wanted to talk about. That, you know, to nail answer writing is the crux of it. If you want to score really well, you have to get the structure right and present it right, even with minimal content. If minimal as in necessary sufficient content with good presentation and good structure, you will get good marks. Because in the previous attempts I had studied many books, made notes from all, integrated them, but I did not get the marks. And second thing, important thing is writing speed. My writing speed was pretty slow. uh, I never used to finish answers before. Hardly 2-3 questions तो छूट जाते थे ऐसे ही. 20, 30 marks, 15 marks for each paper. But they had this notion that नहीं नहीं पहले अच्छा लिखा हूँ मैं तो बहुत ही content के लिए बहुत अच्छा मिलेंगे. So even if I had let go of these 2-3 questions, the initial questions marks would have made up for it. But I realized this lesson and I paid a heavy price. Like after 4 years, I realized that that's not going to work. The margin between what you get for an excellent answer and what you get an average answer is very low. So even if you had spent a lot of time in the initial 5 questions, writing neatly, underlining everything, I don't think you would get much more than somebody who had just written it with average to above average presentation. So the key to good score in mains is you have to finish your paper. I'm not saying finish in the sense that last 2-3 answers आप ऐसे scribble करेंगे. Each answer should be given as much amount time as you give for the last question. There should not be any emotional investment in any question that you personally associate with. That we tend to go. Sometimes I used to have this notion that I cannot complete this answer because I know the stuff. So ये भी point लिखना है, ये भी लिखना है. And then I used to end up like waste so much time in the initial questions and scribble some nonsense in the last few answers. This time I went with the mindset that अगर 50 questions पूछेंगे mains में, then I will dedicate as much time to each question so that I will be able to finish 50 questions at the end of 3 hours. That was the mindset I went with, and test series also really helped in the sense that I took both essay and GS test series here. And each test, I made sure that I finished the paper within time. Even though I was writing at my home online mode, but the time limit was something I really stuck to. That was the single biggest change that I had made from my previous attempts. If you want to, like, if somebody were to ask me what changed from my initial 4 attempts to fifth attempt, that was it. That was the crux of it. That I finished my papers. I dedicated equal amount of time to each answer with the structure and presentation that I intend to. Once you do that, that itself will boost your score a lot, at least by 10 to 15 marks per paper. You count it to 4 papers, and you count it to 4 papers and optional. You really see the drastic change from the point where you're not getting marks to the point where you will get good marks. So these are the two things that I changed, and I think this is what I wanted to tell you.